Well, breaking news for those of you who were asleep on November 5th and 6th, Donald Trump will be the president of the United States in about a month's time. Exactly. We're all very excited for that. And as much as we're excited as a country for Donald Trump to be our president, I'm also excited about the cultural shift, the vibe shift that we're experiencing, not just in politics, not just in corporate America, but maybe even, dare I say, in entertainment and in sports. And that's exactly what I want to talk to my next guest about. You know, he tweeted something on November 5th that riled some folks up because some folks are still unaware that most people who play professional sports happen to be conservative. And he's not apologizing, not one little bit, for that tweet. There's a lot I want to talk to Jonathan Lucroy about. He happens to be here in Nashville with me today, ready to sound off. So first of all, thank you for being outspoken.
Tommy, thank you for having me. And yes, I think it is our obligation as not only professional athletes, but people with somewhat of a platform to be vocal and speak out against this stuff. I think, there's been a cowardice in our society among that demographic. And so, I think it's important that us as men, us as leaders, and women, that we stand up and be bold in what we believe in, and all based around family values in our country.
Right. Do you think that the election of Donald Trump is going to give some leeway for others in sports, others in entertainment, in the public eye, to be more forthright about their conservatism? We're seeing already people doing the Trump dance. We're seeing more of an acceptance of major sports figures wearing MAGA hats. Do you think this is what we're going to need now as we kick off other seasons, like this next season of baseball even, where we're going to see more people being more transparent about their beliefs?
Absolutely. I mean, think about this, right? You've seen obviously we've all seen all the attacks that have come on, Nick Bosa, and then, the kicker from the Chiefs. And now all of a sudden you're seeing Trump dances, and then you're seeing the Chiefs guys are kneeling and praying after the game as a team, and all these really cool things. And I think what you're seeing is these professional athletes are now being emboldened to speak out and be open about this stuff without fear of consequence. Whenever you're on a field, and you're an athlete, we're told to be apolitical. Like, don't show, we don't talk about politics, be apolitical, be neutral.
So are you told to be apolitical? Are you told to be apolitical if you're conservative, but if you're liberal, go ahead?
Yes. See, that's the key point. What I was saying is that we're told that, but yet they politicize us, right? Kneel for the anthem. Hey, let's celebrate a drag queen night. That happened to me, right? Celebrate, be a part of it. I'm like, no, I don't want that picture, on the internet. Forced vaccinations. Get vaccinated or you can't see your family for 6 months. That's a true story, right? And so there's these things that have happened where we've been politicized, but yet we're not allowed to be political, which in my opinion, if anybody should be political, it should be professional athletes, and/or you can also compare them to like someone like a Navy SEAL or someone who've achieved this physical goal that's so rare through physical performance, and you have to work hard for. It's a sacrifice for. You have to, perform. It's a meritocracy. You earn what you put into it. And if anybody should be modeling, it should be us. It should be modeling that, and showing these little kids and the younger generation of our country and Americans that are going, I want to be like that one day. I want to be on TV, or I want to play that game at the highest level, or I want to do what's the greatest thing ever. What do I got to do to get that? And then we talk about it if they're watching us, and we tell them how to do it. We model it. And, these celebrities that, they were basically good professional liars, because that's what actors are. They're professional liars, fakers, but they're allowing those guys to have this kind of platform to speak out, and they're not going to shut them down. Right. But yet these kids are growing up seeing that. I think it's better if people like us do that instead, personally.
So question for you. A lot of people wait until they're retired to speak out, and I understand, but what is the calculus there? And do you think that that'll change? Because there are very few athletes that are willing to be forthright with their conservatism, their support for Trump, their support for traditional values. Very few are willing to do it while they're wearing the uniform. So that's my question. What is it going to take for the more conservative or traditional athletes and public figures to speak out while they're in the limelight? Because those on the left, your LeBrons, your Kaepernicks, your, really pick a name, they are forthright about their beliefs while they're in the uniform and while the lights are shining on them.
Honestly, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. Like, I did that too, right?
And why wait?
A lot of it has to do. I mean, look, we're told job security, fined. I mean, they fined Nick Bosa for wearing a Trump hat. NFL did, right? I've heard other instances where, and this is a rumor I've heard. I don't know this for sure, but if there's teams that don't celebrate Pride Night. If they don't celebrate Pride Night, they're fined, by the governing organization, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL. If they don't celebrate some kind of Pride Night, they'll get fined by that organization. These players they want to keep their job. They don't want to ruffle feathers, right? And there's very few players that, unless you have a 5-year contract, that's a $200 or $300 million contract, most everybody else they're not making that. They're making league minimum or whatever. They're a year-to-year guy. They speak out and start rattling cages and shaking trees. They'll just get fired. They'll get released.
Well, there's examples of that I do want to talk about. But my question is this. I don't know about other sports, but I have a pretty good feeling that baseball is pretty conservative.
Very conservative.
So here's my question. There's strength in numbers, and you're in the clubhouse. You know how many people around you are conservative, or even if they're not conservative, that respect your ability to be conservative as you respect their ability to be liberal and have their own values. I would assume that that's the environment. So if knowing everyone around you is conservative, or at least let's just say it's a 50-50 split, knowing that, why does the strength in numbers in the clubhouse not translate to being able to be a voice for conservatism, or at least maybe just object to some of the liberal things? Because there's very few that do it. And when you have the few Rays players that aren't wearing the Pride jerseys, I mean, it's an international headline.
Yep.
So why do you think that is, that the strength in numbers does not make athletes feel emboldened while they're playing?
Well, first of all, within the clubhouses, we talk about it all the time. I mean, 90% of baseball players are conservative. And by the way, the Venezuelan guys and the Cuban guys, how do you think they believe? They live through socialism, communism. I had a teammate I played with whose family, he asked me, it was during the BLM riots and all the Antifa stuff. And we were watching it on TV in the clubhouse, and he looks at me and he goes, "What is wrong with these people?" He's from Venezuela. He goes, "Why do they hate America?" He goes, "I have family members that are eating cats and dogs in Venezuela, And so, first of all, we talk about it all the time. I know since I've come out and started tweeting and texting and whatever else, I've had so many people that I played with, coaches, players, text me, call me. I went to a golf tournament, about 3 weeks ago, and it was all major league guys. And it was about 12 guys, 12 big league guys that were there, former and current guys. And they were all like, "Dude, we love what you're doing. This is awesome. We see you."
But you're not surprised by that because you knew.
I knew it.
It wasn't like, oh my God, there's a lot of conservatives. Like, you knew while you were playing and when you retired,
Tommy,
you knew how many people were conservative.
Let me give you a little context behind this, and I know that you'll understand. So to be a professional athlete, you have to exhibit values, whether you're liberal, by the way, whether you're LeBron or you're someone like me who's super conservative, right? You have to exhibit values that conservatives talk about: hard work, right? Sacrifice, overcoming adversity, humility at some point. You got to be honest with yourself, got to be humble. All these things all these factors you have to exhibit to get to a point. So anytime you get a guy like LeBron, who's one of the best in the world at what he does for a long time, and he's worked hard and he has the physical talent, but he's developed that physical talent and all these other things, but he talks about this other stuff. You're being hypocritical. It's virtue signaling. It's insecurity. It's, hey, you lived this life, you worked for it, you earned it, here you are, you're doing great, you're one of the best, basketball players ever, but yet you're talking about this other stuff. What that tells me is that you're not realistic with yourself about how you got there. It's like saying, hey, I earned this And, I didn't have to work hard for it whenever you did have to work hard for it, right? So as baseball players, we have strength in numbers for sure. Guys just don't like being a distraction on the field in the clubhouse if they're talking about it. But I'll tell you, in the clubhouse, talking amongst each other, whether we're eating dinner together or we're in the hot tub or we're working out or hitting batting practice, we talk about that stuff all the time.
So where's the disconnect then? Do the owners, the managers, the front office folks, do they not know that y'all are conservative? Would they be shocked to find out how conservative baseball is?
No, I think they know. I mean, I think, I was with a friend of mine last week, and we ran a bunch of numbers on, political donations during Trump's during 2020 election. And, we didn't see this cycle, but we saw the previous one. And it was about half and half, ownership groups. So I wanted to see, like in professional sports, like how owners donate politically, right? Mm-hmm. It's about half and half, roughly, across the board, through all the major sports. And I was specifically interested in baseball because, in baseball, I would assume, you would assume that a lot of the owners are conservative, but it is still about, again, I can't speak exactly to what, how they're registered and like that, just their political donations. And that could be different because that was the previous election cycle, not this latest one. So it was interesting because I played for 11 different teams, and I wanted to try to take that data that I got and put it all together about how those teams operated within their clubhouses and how they communicated and stuff, and obviously the team that told me to kneel for the anthem was a left wing team, the owners were left wing. Right. And so, but then I played for a team like, the Cubs, who are awesome, the Ricketts family, and they're huge supporters of conservatives, huge. But playing for the Cubs was one of the greatest
Did the Cubs have a pride night?
That's a good question. I don't know. I was only there.
Every team has a pride night with the exception of the Rangers.
Yes, I believe you're right.
So that's odd.
They probably
to
do.
me.
It is. And again, maybe it's because of some policies they have. I don't know. But I will tell you that, there is a lot of political pressure that comes down through Major League Baseball, from the government on Major League Baseball. It's like the, during the vaccination stuff, the CDC went to Major League Baseball and says, this is what you're going to do because people are watching you, and we're going to run vaccine ads during games, and all this other stuff. Right. And so it all comes down to money at the very end of it.
Did you get vaccinated?
I had to. They told me if I didn't get vaccinated, I could not see my family for 6 months because that's the season, right?
So then your family also had to get vaccinated.
My wife did. My kids did not.
Wow.
Just to come see me.
And there was never any retribution or accountability for any of these teams that essentially forced their athletes and their families
it's not just
by proxy to get vaccinated. When we found out, everything about the vaccine that we now know, even if you just want to say it's not effective, we'll just go with that. We'll just say it's not effective. It doesn't prevent infection or spread. There was never any apology for forcing so many people to do that. Really, they would have never done it otherwise. There was never, and there's so much forgiveness, not just in sports, but in just society in general, over what happened in 2020, and
Tommy,
2021, and 2022 in some cases.
100%. And I don't need an apology. Like I don't care. My feelings are very hard to hurt. Right? You got to do a lot to hurt my feelings. What I want is justice for this stuff. That's what I want. That's all I want. I want accountability. As an athlete, like if you mess up on the field, you're immediately held accountable. You get booed, right? You get booed. You go back in the clubhouse. Your teammates are like, dude, what are we doing here? Whatever. You get booed. You don't play the next day. You suffer consequences for your actions. If you fail, if you do something wrong, you go work at it and try to fix it, right? These people are just like, hey, let's do this. We're going to force this. And hey, you know what? Whatever. We're just going to force it. And there's no accountability, no justice. There's nothing like that. And I'm not saying we have vigilantes run around or anything like that, but there needs to be accountability for bad behavior in some form or fashion. It's like having children and them running around tearing stuff up, and you do nothing. You just stand there and let them do it. We have to hold people accountable for their actions.
Right. You'd think there'd be some of that. Let's talk about baseball fans, because I think a lot of folks, when you tweet out something like you tweeted out, or you have somebody, usually it's in the retired class, who voices something that's somewhat conservative, there's outrage. There's outrage by fans that are like, I hate you, and now I know you're conservative. I'll never follow you again. I tend to believe that that's not the majority of the fan base, but it's the loud ones that get the attention, and then they kind of drum up some sort of resentment that's probably very small to begin with. But let's talk about baseball fans. I would assume that most baseball fans are conservative, or I would just assume that, let's even say it's 50-50. How do the fans react moving forward if some other players, while they're playing, say, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. Like, I'm not going to wear a MAGA hat. I'm not going to throw it in your face. But, like, I'm conservative, and I'm proud of being conservative, because you can be proud to be liberal. How do you think the fan reaction is going to be to that?
I think they would. I have this working theory that I actually think if they went the other way, Major League Baseball went the other way, and these organizations went the other way to celebrate America, to celebrate the ideals that we are built on, to celebrate these players that represent what it is to be the best in the world at what they do to achieve these goals, and something that requires, like, so rare and hard. Even getting to the big leagues for one day is literally fractions of a percent, much less playing a long time, right? And so I believe that if Major League Baseball actually celebrated those things, they'd make more money. I believe they get more fans. They talk about now how, and not just them, but like NFL. I mean, you saw what happened during the kneeling thing with NFL, like how many fans they lost.
Well, the NBA
revenue
is hemorrhaging viewers currently.
I wonder why, right? I wonder why. That's because the majority of Americans want to watch professional athletes battle and compete. That's why do you think the UFC is doing so well? Why do you think they are? Because, they celebrate America. It's a, hey, we're celebrating our ideals and our principles and our values in this field of competition. And if these teams would realize that, it would be way more profitable. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say they don't. They have, fireworks and 4th of July stuff and Veterans Day stuff. And we had 3 or 4 different uniforms we'd wear that were celebrating different things. I'm not saying they don't at all, but I think doing this politically correct thing, or we're gonna try to celebrate everything. I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but it doesn't mean you have to change a tire, right? Like, I still think that the majority of Americans, especially sports fans, are blue collar people that work hard, love their children, coach their kids in whatever sport that they love, and they just want to go be entertained and watch people compete at the highest level in the world. And they don't want to see drag queens on the field with stuff hanging out everywhere. And they don't want to see people kneeling for the anthem and disrespecting our military and all the veterans that have died defending our country and keeping it safe. They don't want this rainbow stuff thrown in their face on a daily basis. They just want to watch a game and be entertained with their kids and say, hey, little Johnny, you see that player right there? That's my favorite player. Like, watch how he goes about his at bat, or watch how he catches that pass, or watch how he takes that shot. It's modeling, it's role modeling. And it's our job as professional athletes to do so at the highest level we can, because it's important.
Yeah. I think there's going to be maybe a shift. We're already starting to see it. And I think with the election of Donald Trump even winning the popular vote, I think it's pretty obvious now that the majority of the country does support conservative values and ideals. And it's okay to be proud of those without putting them out on display every day. You don't need to be aggressive about it, because I don't think people want to see athletes necessarily go and put their conservatism on display while they're playing. No, I think nobody wants that. But to your point earlier, if you're going to make something political, let's just have a balance then. If you're going to politicize athletes, then allow them to have differing views. Yeah. And just like they would do in a locker room or a clubhouse, let's have a dialogue about it then, and then show the young people that you can have disagreements and you can still play together and love each other and you can still coexist. I think that would be really powerful, but there's a disconnect there. Last thing I want to talk to you about is sports media. So at Outkick, our founder, Clay Travis, really founded Outkick to be an answer to what he saw as woke sports media. And it's gotten progressively worse since Outkick was founded, in that woke media is getting presumably more woke. At least that's what we're seeing. And they're not fighting for the integrity of women's sports. That's kind of weird. They're fighting for drag nights. They're fighting for vaccinations during 2020 and 2021. That's really all we heard about was you got to get vaccinated. You got to protect each other. That was a big deal. Do you think that sports media represents the fans, the athletes, the teams in a way that's reflective of the fan base and the players and the teams?
That's a good question. I don't watch a lot of it, to be honest. That's the whole thing. You know, I'm more into political, cultural issues now than sports. You know, my whole goal with speaking out against this stuff is to inspire these athletes to do the same. You know, even while they're playing, current guys, because those guys have massive platforms.
Anybody who's currently playing, have they said to you? Because I've heard this all the time. Oh, you know, thank you for saying it. Like I can't, but like thank you for saying it. Yeah.
I had a kid really close with. He has like a $280 million contract and absolute stud of a kid, great kid. And he told me that exact same thing. And I was like, bro, you could do that. And like, you're getting.
But can they though? Because I want to give you an example.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine, Anthony Bass.
Yeah, I know.
Here in Nashville.
I know Anthony Bass. I caught Anthony Bass in Oakland.
Yeah.
Actually.
So I'm sure you know what happened to poor Anthony Bass there. Didn't even say anything conservative. Simply shared an Instagram reel talking about the conservative perspective to what was going on at the time with the Bud Light controversy and the Target controversy of promoting the LGBTQ for children, or Bud Light promoting transgenderism, and simply posted a reel of somebody else describing the Christian perspective to that. Had to do a public apology. Granted, this is Canada. I understand. Canada's more liberal. The fan base is more liberal. Understand. He apologized, but it didn't matter anyway because he was still released. So he did the whole apology tour, probably said things that he didn't even in his heart really believe because he apologized for, in my opinion, no reason. Didn't do anything wrong. Still got released. Hasn't been picked up. Probably because he's now seen as like a political figure because he simply shared a reel. And his career, at least professionally, may well be over for that reason. So when you say to these other young kids, even that are making a lot of money, when you say like, you could do that, do you think they're like, nah, I don't want to chance it because look what happened to Anthony Bass?
Tommy, I tell you, that's one of the biggest issues that that what we spoke about. I mean, earlier, is why guys don't talk about it because they'll just unless you're a dude making huge money with a guaranteed contract, and you can get away with whatever you wanted. You're in fear of losing your job, and it's really sad. And that's why, as a retired guy, I feel obligated to do so. And speak out and inspire these guys. Hey, you know what? If you get, if you get 50 or 60 of these guys popping off and actually speaking out, what are you gonna do? Release all of them?
So here's my question: when these incidents happen, let's just use Anthony Bass as an example because it's a recent high-profile example. Let's just say he's in hot water, he gets released. Let's just say his teammates rallied around him and said, no, this isn't going to fly. You're doing this to a great man. By the way, somebody who's not only a great Christian man, but adopted a child who really is the epitome of what it means to be just a good man, good father, good husband, good American. And what if his teammates rallied around him, and even if it wasn't publicly, even if it was just in the clubhouse behind the scenes, and told management, hey, you're not doing this to Anthony Bass. That's our friend. We believe in this guy. Do you think that would have made a difference?
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they do that? They had the numbers, presumably. This is theoretical. They had the numbers. Why not?
Leadership, I would say. I mean, it's, if you ever watch Braveheart, you always, there's a line in Braveheart, you either live for something or die for nothing. I think in this aspect, I mean, we have to live for something greater than just a paycheck. We have to live for something greater than just playing baseball as an athlete. We have to live up to a bigger standard, a higher standard in the way we live our life, and not cow to this weakness that we're seeing in men. And it's permeated professional athletes. Guys, we're afraid to talk about it in public. A lot of them are, and that's me. I was super guilty of that, but I think. we have to be bold, stand up, and come at it like you said, power in numbers, man. Like your whole team says, no, we're not going to celebrate Pride Night. You take 30 guys out there, and they're, no, we're not doing that. And I remember whenever we were told kneel for the anthem, one of my closest friends I know I have was on the other side. He was on the other team. We meet. He texts me. He goes, meet me on the field, because their guys, they had been told the same thing. And so we walked out. It was opening day. We walked out on the field. We met behind home plate. I looked at him. I said, bro, I can't do this. And he goes, I can't either. And I said, what are you going to do? And I said, if the whole team kneels, I'm standing. I'm not kneeling. I'll get released. I don't care. I will not kneel. I said, I played on Team USA twice in my life. And I have a lot of pride in my country, and I love what we represent. And I will not disrespect those people that have given everything for it, their life. They're military veterans and stuff. And he's like, good, I'm going to do it with you. And so we did. Now, again, it ended up only being 3 or 4 guys that didn't kneel, or that did kneel, excuse me. And so, but the majority of guys stood. And maybe it was because me and my buddy were bold enough to be like, no, I'm not kneeling. You can release me now. I don't care. Like, go ahead, And so these guys, I want to inspire them. I want them to see that it's okay to be yourself and be who you are and speak about what you believe. I mean, you're going to go home, you're going to retire one day, you're going to be out of the game, and you have to be able to go home and sleep every single night whenever you're retired, knowing that you did everything you could while you were there to utilize the platform that you had at the time, to be a good role model and to represent what it really means, to be a true American and honestly, a true man, a true courageous man, really. And that's, for me, that's what it's all about.
Last question for you. After speaking out, I know you've talked about this a little bit, but do you think that your opportunities, now that you have been so outspoken, are over in terms of involvement in baseball?
Yeah. I thought about this a lot. I prayed about it a lot. I debated on it a long time, because I always had this little bit of a dream to manage in the big leagues one day. A lot of catchers do that, former catchers. And, I knew that if I spoke out publicly, it was probably going to go to 0. And there was also a pretty good chance that I would be voted into the Brewers Hall of Fame, right? One of the best players of all time for that team. I basically said, you know what? And this was the day before the election. Elon had did a interview with Joe Rogan. And Elon talked about, if we don't win this election, democracy is done, our country's over with. And he explained it, and it hit me. I'm like, okay, so the majority of my following on X is in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a swing state. I figured, I was like, you know what? If I get bold about this and I talk about it, maybe I can get 3,000 or 4,000 votes to Trump, right? Will that help? I don't know, but I know how razor thin these things can get, and ended up not mattering because we won Pennsylvania. But at the same time, I did it because I was like, maybe we can swing it over, and who knows, I can contribute, and but I knew that if I was bold about that I was going to sacrifice the baseball stuff, the coaching stuff or the Brewers stuff. So, but again, I want to be able to go home at night and go to sleep, put my head down and ask myself, are you helping? Are you doing what's right to help the future for your children be better, for other people's children be better? Are you doing that? And I don't do stuff to make money. I do stuff for purpose and purpose and belief and purpose and helping other people, in terms of we have to fix what we have here and maintain, make it better. Yeah. In a lot of ways, but we can't allow this stuff. We can't allow evil people to come in and try to destroy it, because they're trying actively.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important. And I think if there's it wouldn't take a lot, just maybe a few people to be very, very bold about it. As you said, you can't cancel everybody. I think cancel culture is on its way out anyway.
I do too.
But I really don't think you can cancel everybody. So I think if more people, even if more people in their retirement were outspoken, if you find out that everybody around you is probably conservative, what are you just going to hire only liberals? Like your talent pool is going to shrink. So I think if there was a message sent of you will not bully people into silence, I think it would change the dynamics for the rest of time.
Tomi, you know what's funny is that they've tried to bully a bunch of alpha male professional athletes and Navy SEALs and entrepreneurs that have made billions of dollars in their businesses by building their own companies. And I've sat there and looked at it and thought about it. I was like, how stupid are these people? You're going to bully people who are physically capable of doing things at a high level that you have no chance of even doing, and who have worked and refined their craft over decades of experience and sacrifice and competing and all those other things. Not only that, but then you look at the business side, like Elon Musk is the greatest entrepreneur of all time, and you're going to try to bully him. You're going to try to do people that believe the way we do, people that work the way we do, people that have the same values and beliefs that we do. I think, this is why we are successful in our life, because you have to have these values to be successful. No matter what you do, you have to have these certain values. And these liberals and all these people think they can virtue signal us into submission. They can, suppress our voice into submission. They can vaccinate us into submission. They can come down and say, we're going to fire you if you don't do what we tell you to do in a submission, just completely hey, we're going to force you through in every which way. We're going to try to attack you to submit you to our control and our power. Well, I'll tell you what, with a bunch of alpha guys and people, like I just explained, good luck. Mm-hmm. Good luck with that, because you're going to get some serious pushback. And I think that's exactly what you've seen demographically in the election, social media, all the different stuff that's coming out is happening. And, we know where the enemy is, and we know where the gaps are, and we're going to stand in it. We're going to stand in those gaps.
And the bullying did work to a point, but now I hope we're on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And I hope November 5th is a good indication of that. And I hope that we can go forward and people can just be themselves. And you know what? Listen, if you want to be liberal, that's fine. I just think that we need a level playing field. You can't tell some people to shut up and some people to be proud of their beliefs. It just doesn't work that way. But I think that, your tweets and your activism on that front of just being transparent and proud of who you are and the beliefs that you hold will make a difference. I hope others will follow in your footsteps. I hope we will get to a day where people can say, nah, I'm just really not going to wear a Pride jersey. And that will just be accepted and instead of ridiculed, and people won't have to worry about their livelihoods. I hope we can get there. We might get there. It's probably going to take 5 years, but we're on our way. And so at least there's optimism in that. And we've got a month until Inauguration Day when we can just get America back. And I'm confident in that. But I thank you for being here, for being so honest, transparent, accountable, forthright, and courageous, really.
Oh, you know what, Tomi, I appreciate what you guys do as well. We need fearless people. Courageous people. And, like I said, ultimate goal, you don't want to go to bed at night laying there going, man, I wish I would have done more.
Yeah.
You always want to err on the side of, like almost too much. Like we have to do this, because if we don't, our country's going to suffer, our children are going to suffer.
Yeah. And sometimes silence or complicity is a part of the problem.
It is a problem.
So let's be a part of the solution.
That's
so
right.
We're getting there.
Call it out, baby.
Well,
Call
Jonathan, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your time in Nashville.
I will.
And I know you're also from a great red state.
Yep.
Great state of Texas. So, hey,
listen. I grew up in Florida, but I live in Texas
That's
now.
Another
So
great
two of
red
them, baby.
State.
Two of them.
So there we go. I would encourage people to be in a red state.
That's right.
If you're going to vote correctly. Jonathan, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Folks, that does it for this very special episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. We'll see you right back here Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.